And hi there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Outlook, the show where we're talking about what you're talking about, as always. I'm your host, Taryn Winter-Brill, but just call me TWB. On today's show, we'll begin by talking about the movies and the media. From films like Red Dawn to Skyfall, there's been a spark of controversy about the underrepresentation and often misrepresentation of minorities and women in film. We'll break it down. Then we'll change gears and move the conversation over to national security, specifically the U.S. drone program, its effectiveness and its morality. It's a hot-button issue that seems to be getting hotter by the day. Then we'll tackle some lifestyle news. The U.S. birth rate has plummeted to its lowest level since the 1920s. We'll get into some of the causes and the effects. And finally, have we become a nation that just refuses to grow up? More and more Americans are getting married later than ever, and they're also living with roommates well into their 30s and 40s. So why the social shift, rather? We'll explain. But before we get the conversation started, let's meet our all-star panel, including a very special guest today. Let's start with JBP. Tell us who you are, where are you from, and again, why are you here?
I'm here. I'm James Peterson. I'm the Director of Africana Studies at Lehigh University and a contributor to thegrio.com, and I'm here because I'm smart.
Yes, we know that. Very good answer. Very good answer. All right, up next, a very special guest. We have Bill. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you very much. Thanks very much.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Bill Timoney. I am the cinema analyst for the morning TV news program Ebru Today. I also work in the film and television industry as an actor, screenwriter, and producer, and I go anywhere that James goes.
Excellent. And I knew you looked familiar. We've seen you on the screen. Very cool.
Yes, you have.
And a familiar face as always, Francesca.
That's right. Sometimes I'm on Ebru Today myself, actually filling in for folks. My name is Francesca Maxime. I am a news anchor here at Ebru TV and also the author of my new memoir called Rooted.
All right, and last but not least, in the black frame glasses, WJ.
W.J. O'Reilly. I'm the headmaster of the Hanal School in New Jersey and also a partner with Harvard College in its Center for Public Interest Careers, and I'm here to keep it real.
Love it, love it. We will see, won't we? All right, guys, we'll continue the conversation in just a moment. But with the holiday season underway, we all have our favorites. But entertainment aside, there's a deeper issue dominating the cinema landscape, the representation of minorities and women on the big screen. And often, many say, their misrepresentation. The movie Red Dawn is in theaters now. It seems to be at the forefront of the controversy. Let's take a look.
Since the release of the new film Red Dawn, in which a group of U.S. teenagers fight off an invasion of North Koreans, Twitter has seen a spark of racist anti-Asian tweets. Other current blockbusters like Skyfall and Taken 2 have met criticism by Turks and Albanians, unhappy with how movies depict their countries. And they aren't the only ones with a bone to pick with Hollywood. Oscar-caliber films such as Lincoln and The Help have raised objections for their portrayal of African Americans. And while movies like Malcolm X and The Great Debaters have come a long way since the days of Gone with the Wind or Birth of the Nation, some critics say much more progress is needed.
Ooh, just hold on and suck in.
Experts, for instance, draw attention to the stereotypical, often overly sexualized way that female characters continue to appear on screen, even in children's programs. And even today, women directors remain a rarity in Hollywood. So, what effect do films have on how women and people of color are seen and see themselves in society? And what needs to be done to ensure that the media industry, both in front of and behind the camera, better reflects the diversity of modern America?
All great questions, everybody. Let's get into it. I watched that piece. I'm flabbergasted. I think everybody's being way too sensitive. This is the movies. It's entertainment. Relax. Everybody is so sensitive these days. Or does the panel feel that they really are making an impact and this is a very serious issue?
It is a serious issue. It's a privilege to be able to say, don't worry about it, because if you're a person who's represented across the spectrum of identities within Hollywood, then you may not be that sensitive to these kinds of things. But if you're an Asian American, and there aren't that many sort of depictions of Asian American life across the spectrum of representations, and all you get is a big blockbuster film like Red Dawn, you can see why they'd be more sensitive about it. Same thing with women in Hollywood, same thing with black folk in Hollywood. I mean, this
But
is
it's fiction, it's a movie.
But see, the thing is, Hollywood has a great impact on our society. There are a lot of people in this country who don't interact with Asian Americans actors on a regular basis.
And James, you're talking about actually the limited roles that are portrayed at any given time, and that's what makes it more dangerous. Is that what you're
Exactly,
saying?
because
That's all people
it's
have to
got to be
go on,
broader
is that
and a little bit
representation.
wider. And the thing is, it's not always about making money, and it's not always about entertainment. If you look back at the history of Hollywood, films have shaped policy. Hollywood films have shaped demographics, have shaped like regional patterns, like residential patterns.
We become what we behold.
Exactly. So
So it's
I
life
don't
imitating
think
art.
we can overestimate the impact that some of these films have.
Okay.
Well, it's also, you say it's life imitating art. That's a fairly well-used label, but in this case, I think what the guys are trying to get to is that it's it's art influencing life. It's not just that movies follow a trend, but there are filmmakers, there are people who have power in that industry who, if they want to influence a change for a positive good, they go out of their way, they throw their weight around, and they can achieve that. Sometimes the movies don't work. The one that comes to mind, since we're talking about Lincoln and the Help and along racial lines, The Ghost of Mississippi, I think, is a great example. Rob Reiner made it in the mid-90s.
Good film.
And it's a good film. I hate the film. and I hate the film because it's about how the murder of civil rights activist Medgar Evers was finally brought to justice. And he's finally brought to justice by this crusading white guy.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the movie going, okay, great, this is all great, but why can't we make a movie, or why can't we see a movie about Medgar Evers?
That's the thing,
Okay.
right? Even, well, for example, in Lincoln, it's been criticized by Steven Spielberg that he did this amazing movie, right? But in it, he doesn't have a good depiction of African Americans and what they were doing at the time. And even, for example, sort of no mention of Frederick Douglass and things that were
Essential to the moment in history that film is about.
Right, and sort of the core of that movie left a lot of people saying that African Americans were sort of waiting to be liberated
By the white
their,
man, right.
and just to go back to that piece that we saw a minute ago, Catherine Bigelow, that was the Oscar-winning director of The Hurt Locker a couple years back. She was married for some time to James Cameron,
Yes.
the guy who did the
Avatar.
Avatar, right, and the Titanic movie, and very well known director. Bret Easton Ellis, a writer of many tomes and that have been turned into screenplays, recently said that the only reason why she was even so popular in Hollywood was because she was hot. So you want to talk about misogynation, and you want to talk about female depictions, and you want to talk about The Little Mermaid and Disney being responsible for scantily clad,
Do you take offense to that as a woman?
Well, I take offense to his comment. I don't know if I agree with him,
because
I think
I'm going to
she's
jump
talented.
in right now on this one here, because I think the careers of so many actresses and actors nowadays are based upon the sexualization of their persona. So if we're going to start criticizing the fact that exists, I think it's absolutely absurd.
Well, listen, we're talking about different issues here.
Right,
If you want to talk about
talent.
hypersexualization in Hollywood, I think that's different than misrepresentation of minorities
issues,
and women.
right.
It really is. Women are misrepresented as being hypersexualized in a lot of contexts. And people
Because
say,
it sells tickets.
well, okay, but that's an excuse to me, because to me, Hollywood makes enough money that it can also be socially conscious, right? And the people on Twitter and sometimes will get dismissed, but they actually reflect the ways in which people respond. So when you get like a lot of sexist tweets, or when you get the racist tweets out there, racial animus and sexism online has been on the rise since Twitter and Facebook and other social media sites have been developing.
Because they can be done anonymously.
It can be done anonymously,
Right.
and what that says is that we should take that seriously, because that means that it's an indication of how our society is responding to some
No
of these
doubt, we're in
images.
a different day right now, and we have to be more responsible for that. But let's face facts. Films are cast because other films that are similar are successful. And the
Right.
same patterns are continued because they draw people and they
If
sell
it's not
tickets.
broken, why fix it? And
Let's be
speaking of
realistic about
films,
that.
sorry to interrupt you, let's roll another piece of some more films that are gaining some controversy in terms of race relations. Take a look.
If you're seeing this broadcast, you are in a part of the country no longer controlled by the government of the United States.
Boys, I love you both, but I want you to do what I would do. Kill this piece. Where is he?
You're all men, only one of you, Steve, is a minority.
I love me some fried chicken.
Why is that? Why are
I
there...
must be in America.
But you evicted now,
Oh, hell no, she didn't.
Why then so few women directors?
Why are they all black men? I mean,
Yeah.
Watch and you'll see. Someday I'll be part of your world.
Obviously, a lot of those clips we all recognize. Some
Yeah, I just want to, the Precious clip is important to take a look at. One, people should read the book. It's a much more powerful narrative in book form than it is in the film. I think that the challenge with films like Precious and things like The Help is that it seems like there's a tremendous American appetite for black pathology. So if you're showing a black character who is a drug dealer or a murderer or who's largely overweight or ignorant, somehow that appetite for pathology is great. And I think that's where part of the criticism is there room for more constructive imagery around some folk in this country in Hollywood?
Well, you recently saw Flight. So, for example, somebody like Denzel Washington, who is an Oscar-winning actor and who's amazing, and he can portray a variety of different kinds of roles. What, if any, is his responsibility to help, demystify or mitigate that pathology?
Well, listen, Denzel won the Oscar for Training Day and didn't even get a look for Malcolm X.
Right.
And if you look at the performance, look how
Wait, stop. No. What do you mean he did not get a look for Malcolm X? He was nominated for the Oscar for Best Actor for Malcolm X.
He did not win it, though. He did not win it.
So how does that mean it's not a look?
Because they're saying it wasn't the right role. Go ahead.
But what I mean is, he essentially won it for the pathological character, did not win it for his historical portrayal of it. Okay. And the thing is, that role in Malcolm X, I would also say he was a better role.
So because he did not win the Oscar for Malcolm X, does that mean Hollywood is racist, or the Academy of Motion Pictures Art and Science? Are they
in
racist?
some ways, yes, because you can see that pattern repeated with Halle Berry. You can see it repeated with Morgan Freeman.
Where is it repeated with Halle Berry?
Monsters Ball.
She won for Monsters Ball.
She's
never been really acknowledged for any of her other major roles. And here's the thing.
What do you mean that when you say she's never been acknowledged? Look at, say, for example, Introducing Dorothy Dandridge.
Yes.
How is that?
She won the Emmy for that, I think.
Right, but that's not a Hollywood film. But I mean,
what do you mean, not a Hollywood film? It's an
HBO film.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's a TV film.
But it wasn't a big blockbuster.
Well, because it qualifies for an Emmy. She won the Emmy for that. By the way, it also, the Screen Actors Guild acknowledged her performance as Best Actress in that.
Yes,
so I don't understand when you say, well, she wasn't acknowledged for that, or Denzel was dismissed for Malcolm X.
Right.
He didn't win, is what I'm saying, Bill. Right. He did not win. And here's the point. Look at what they won the Oscars for.
Morally depraved characters.
Yes, and I think Hollywood has an appetite.
I want to read a quote.
Yeah.
Just on this point. It's Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's the founder of Your Black World Coalition, and he says that the bottom line is simple: if a black person does a good impression of a thief, drug addict, prostitute, maid, or athlete, you've got yourself a touchdown. Yeah. The worst thing you can do is play a role that communicates intelligence, integrity, or courage. Yeah, that's his point.
Yeah, and I don't agree with Boyce on everything, but I don't think we have to. I don't think it's a question of whether or not Hollywood is racialized and is sometimes racist. It is. In its depictions, look at the people who work in Hollywood. Look who writes the films, directs the films, produces the films.
I think
there's not diversity in Hollywood.
That's the point. That's the point.
And when there's not diversity in Hollywood, there's not a diversity of representations of people with different identities. It's very easy as a white male to say that, hey, Hollywood's not racist, or let them. It's all.
Wait a minute now. I did not say that at all.
If you're a person of color, and you live your life looking at Hollywood with these representations, you will feel the racism. You will feel that you're being depicted negatively time and time again.
You need more John Singletons, or you need more people who are black directors in positions of power.
Spike makes great films, but look at Tyler Perry. Because we're talking about black folk who make films. Look at how Tyler Perry has risen to the top of Hollywood entertainment.
Yeah, that was fast.
Yes, and look at the kind of images that his characters portray and depict in film and on TV. So they're all
elaborate.
I will elaborate. If you look at any sitcom that Tyler Perry makes, or in almost any film that he has made, the characters depicted in those films are pathological. They are stereotypical. They are ignorant.
And
they are engaged. They're promiscuous. They're violent.
They're a lot of fun. Isn't that what this is about? It's entertainment.
Again, maybe entertainment for you.
News directors and people that are in positions of power to decide what kind of coverage that news is going to carry, and oftentimes you don't actually reflect the communities that you're in, because the people that are in the newsroom at the assignment desk giving and doling out stories are more concerned about whether or not somebody saw a raccoon in a tree, for example, than they are about some kind of endemic problem.
We have a few seconds left. What is the solution to this? How do we get more diversity accurately portrayed? Real quick.
I think the actors themselves should be more responsible in the roles that they accept, regardless of of
Oh, so
how
it's
much
the
they're offered.
actor's responsibility.
I'm just saying, they're the ones ultimately, they're the last gatekeeper, so to speak. Let them be highly responsible in the roles that they'll take on.
Denzel Washington is an extremely powerful movie star. He's one of the most powerful men in the business. If he wants to make a movie where he plays a character like in Training Day, because he sees that's a very rich, conflicted character that will be a compelling night at the theater, he's going to play that
But
part.
someone else would take the role if he doesn't. But the point is, it comes down to the Hollywood writing. I mean,
Right,
the
or the
screenplays, the
funding.
movies,
If you have somebody like
the
Will Smith
stories.
who wants to produce young independent artists, for example, that are going to be appearing at Sundance. I mean, I know Precious, sort of came out of that in terms of an independent film. But the idea is you do have these new voices, but you have to start somewhere. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, white boys from Boston, they wrote their way to Oscardom. Okay, so if you can have more people create that, but then the connection and the mentorships and the kind of opportunities for these kids that can't afford to just go be an intern at Universal Studios because they have to work and because they have to go to school, they can't just afford to do that. If you can somehow fund that at a very sort of gestational level so that we can bring up this talent from the inside out and they can create those roles for themselves. Same thing goes with women. They say the same thing about women over 50 in Hollywood. Then the more that you have of those kinds of roles, then you'll get the more, beyond just the Michelle Pfeiffer on the screen.
By the way, did anyone see Red Dawn? I haven't seen it yet.
I saw the original.
Not this
Yeah.
one.
That
The one
Bill
that was
Hader.
15 years ago.
This one is tanked. By the way, let me speak to that point. There is a program. There are several programs like that in Hollywood. The Writers Guild actually has the studios fund a program where they bring in young people of color, women, minorities, to be writers' assistants on all their TV shows and all the studios and all the television shows.
Well, thank God for that.
It is a paid internship.
As long as it's
And
not,
it's not
as long as it's not
enough. It's not
tokenism.
enough.
Tokenism. It's easy to actually pay an intern, and then they're on their way.
Right.
Who's going to get them into a career?
It's something. I mean,
But it's
better
not
than
enough.
nothing.
We
It's not
need
enough.
comprehensive
agreeing with you.
reform and comprehensive support
Sure.
behind the scenes.
It's not
I
gonna
wouldn't
happen
hinge it on
overnight.
the actors and actresses though, because and even folks as powerful as Denzel Washington at times is going to make some decisions as an individual that don't have to do with the whole system. Hollywood as a system has to be responsible about this.
Got to stop you. Sorry to be the messenger, but we have to go to break. So much to get to. Highly controversial. Coming up, another controversial topic. We're changing gears. Drone strikes. How effective are they? Some say they're a necessary evil in a post 9/11 world. What are your thoughts? That's next on Fresh Outlook. Stay with us.